What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content you watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the latest episode of WWE Untold, entitled Edge vs. Foley, WrestleMania 22. This was awesome stuff. Every edition, and I feel like a broken record in saying this, but every installment of WWE Untold is fantastic. I feel like they're only getting better, actually. Like the Untolds they've done in the last year alone, from the Styles one to the Goldberg one to the Angle and Michaels one almost exactly a year ago, have all been phenomenal. And I like how certain editions kind of cover like the anniversary, like kind of fall on the anniversary itself. For example, the Bayley and Sasha one that dropped over SummerSlam weekend and back in August over SummerSlam season, it fell on the exact 5-year anniversary of their TakeOver match from 5 years earlier. The Michaels and Shawn one fell exactly on the 15-year anniversary of their WrestleMania 21 match. This one dropped on Easter Sunday. The actual anniversary was the day before, but close enough. It's the 15-year anniversary of a match that I feel like does not get talked about enough. It's one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. I don't know if it'd be in the top 10, but it's well up there. It's well up there. I saw Cultaholic ranked every WrestleMania match ever, which is a hell of a task, and I applaud them for that. A lot of respect for that. I have to imagine that this one is in the top 15, 20 at least, if not higher than that. But this was fantastic, though. So you are getting 2 videos in one here today. I did talk about the Icons episode of Beth Phoenix, or the Beth Phoenix episode, rather, of WWE Icons earlier today that I just got around to watching earlier today. So that review is up. Check that out. And I'm trying to get all this stuff out of the way now just because there's a lot more shit to come later on this week with WrestleMania week, especially interviews dropping here on the channel. So I'm putting all these up now, and we'll have Raw Talk tomorrow, hashtag WrestleRant Radio excerpts, Mania predictions, and again, a shit ton of interviews that you're going to want to stick around for, all dropping here on the channel at some point this week. So we start off the episode with Foley saying that he credits Shawn Michaels for coming up with the WrestleMania moment, specifically looking back at when he jumped off the top of the ladder at WrestleMania 10, the ladder match with Razor Ramon, and he knew, looking back on his career before 06, that he never had one of his own. And Edge wanted a WrestleMania moment, going to see WrestleMania 6 in person, watching Hulk Hogan versus The Ultimate Warrior, again, one of the all-time great Mania matches, Mania main events. That was a Mania moment all to itself. Just the match itself was a Mania moment, and Edge knew he wanted one of those to his own when he joined WWE years later. So Edge's first exposure of Foley was in wrestling magazines like the PWI, stuff like that, before he came to WWE. And he was specifically intrigued by the cadence in his promos. Like, it was very different from what everyone else was doing in wrestling at that point in time. Specifically, the promos he was cutting in WCW and ECW. Foley talks about bringing hardcore wrestling into the mainstream with his matches he was having in WCW, ECW, and later WWE. And Edge calls him like the last of the journeymen, kind of like that era of wrestlers. And Edge says he agrees. There's only one Mick Foley. And they kind of relate to each other. And we hear from David Shoemaker as well, who had wrote, I forgot the name of the book, but I've heard the name before. I don't know if he's a wrestling journalist, but he's done books and stuff. He has a great mind for wrestling, and we hear from him a lot on this episode, which is cool from like the fan perspective, which I always enjoy. Like Johnny Gargano kind of was that person for the Shawn and Kurt one about a year ago. So anyway, he said that they can kind of relate to each other because both guys put their bodies through massive pain and all this punishment because they care so much about wrestling. So Edge brought up how Mick Foley praised Edge and Christian, even Jeff and Matt, following their No Mercy 1999 tag team ladder match, and how he claimed that all 4 guys in that moment became stars. And that Edge never forgot about that. He never forgot about the praise that was bestowed upon him by Foley in that moment. And they also clicked outside of the ring just because they're both goofy. And both guys never really grew up, Edge said, in being in a business where you never actually have to, which is funny. So Foley recalls coming out of retirement after retiring in 2000. So he had his last match officially at No Way Out 2000. I mean, not officially, but like it was supposed to be his retirement match, losing to Triple H at the No Way Out Hell in a Cell match. Came back at Mania 2000, which was a shit show. He didn't wrestle, I don't think, another official WWE match until 2004. So he came out of retirement for that Team of the Rock against Evolution, Rock and Sock against Evolution. And it was a good match. Honestly, I enjoy the match. I don't really see that he was really, really down in his performance that night. He really hated how he looked and hated how he kind of came across, didn't hold his own, felt like he was lacking in that match. I don't really feel like you can tell watching it because it was a fun spectacle, it was a fun attraction, but he hated that match as far as his performance is concerned. Edge saw that Foley hated his performance in that match and wanted to help give Foley his long-awaited WrestleMania moment. Foley had a lot of amazing moments, but none of them actually came at WrestleMania, which is kind of shocking. Like, even when he was at his peak of popularity as a character in 99, didn't have a Mania moment. I think he faced the fucking Big Show that night. So 2000, the match was shit. 98, wasn't it the Terry Funk New Age Outlaws tag team match? I'm pretty sure. So he didn't have a lot of WrestleMania moments to himself. Didn't have any Mania moments at all, any at least that stood out. So the story of this match that they were proposing against each other for WrestleMania 22 was all about Foley wanting redemption and Edge in storyline wanting to be recognized as the best. So Edge recalls cashing in Money in the Bank against John Cena at New Year's Revolution 06, a great moment. And he thought his run, the 3-week run that he had as WWE Champion, turned some heads and changed some minds. Because he was never supposed to hold the championship beyond the Rumble. That was always the plan. They didn't change plans. That was always the plan, for him to hold it for 3 weeks. But he was hoping by the fact that he boosted ratings and had one of the highest rated segments, ratings-wise, in Raw history, the live sex celebration with Lita. Among other stuff, he was killing it in that role. He was super motivated, more motivated than he had ever been before. Yet they still took the championship off of him. So he was pissed when he dropped the title. He was even more motivated coming out of it. He wasn't content. And Foley was motivated too, to go out there and have a great match. So Edge was excited to have that opportunity to work with Foley. You know, every other time he was kind of pissed that he wasn't the champion. This was the only situation in a long time where he wasn't the champion, but he was excited to have that opportunity to make magic with a guy like Foley. So they both went to Vince separately about the match, pulling for it, lobbying for it. Vince said yes. The way the match kicked off, the build kicked off to the bell, which I didn't know because I didn't really closely follow the build of the match. I wasn't watching at that point. But Foley was the special guest referee for a Cena Edge match on Raw for the WWE Championship. Foley, in a way, cost Edge the title. Edge cheated, and he kind of pushed Foley. Foley battled back by giving the Mr. Sacco mandible claw. So that was how the match kind of got kicked off for WrestleMania, and Edge wanted the match with Foley in storyline because he cost him the championship. That moment actually almost didn't happen because there was a blizzard the night of Raw. And Foley was supposed to come in and ref the match, and everything was closed down in Long Island where he lives. So Vince actually flew him out to the show on a private plane. Because if he wasn't there, the match was going to go on without him, and there's no Mania match. Like, there's no redos, there's only one shot in building up the Mania match. I'm sure if they really wanted to, they could have figured out another way to do it. But they still made it work. Foley made it out, and they made it happen. So it was crucial that he was there for that Raw. So yeah, Edge attacked him afterward. It had a very simple story, and the match was made official in February when Edge challenged Foley in late February on Raw. And Foley kind of turned the tables a bit and saying, listen, I accept your challenge, but let me do you one better and make it a hardcore match. Edge recalls calling Foley a Muppet, which he got a big pop out of, and talking about Foley on Saturday night's main event. Foley chewed barbed wire in the build of the match, which was ridiculous. So something I didn't know that they kind of talked about here was that the match almost became from a hardcore match, almost went from a hardcore match to a steel cage match, which I completely forgot about, but Shawn and Vince also had a no DQ match on that show. They had a street fight, quote unquote. It's all the same shit. Give it a different name, it's still the same type of match. So that obviously took precedence. They almost had the match changed. Foley was okay with that. He would have been okay with a steel cage match. Probably because one of his favorite moments as a fan was Jimmy Snuka jumping off the top of the cage, so I'm sure he would have wanted to recreate that. Edge said no. Edge was pissed. He was like, no, I can't be a pushover. We got to have this be a hardcore match. That's my vision. That's what I want. And they got what they wanted. Foley was very partial to the Allstate Arena in Chicago, had a lot of great memories there. The crowd's always been kind to him there, so he was really happy the Mania match could go down in that building. He also recalls, this was funny, Edge recalls dropping his phone in the toilet the day of Mania. He was peeing, his phone was on the top of the toilet, it vibrated, it fell into the toilet, and he's peeing on top of the fucking phone. And the only thing that was really occurring to him at that point was that, okay, if I almost kill myself tonight, I can't call my mom afterwards to tell her that I'm okay. So that was the only thing that that bothered him about ruining his phone, which I thought was funny. Foley's talked about this before in his books and other interviews and stuff, but he gets in the zone for matches, or at least he used to get in the zone for matches. by listening to a song called Winter by Tori Amos. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I remember, him saying that in one of his books that I read years ago. And that's how we got in the zone. But he was nervous. He was nervous before the match, and he knew he needed someone to make him great because the preparation process wasn't nearly as good as it was for the Mania 20 match. And even that, it was that match wasn't great. So if he prepared for that and it wasn't good, who's to say that this is going to be any good if the training process isn't nearly as good? You know what I mean? So he was kind of scared as to how it was going to go down. But as soon as he got hit with the cookie sheet by Edge during the match, that was what got him into it. And he wore barbed wire to counter Edge's spear, which was a great spot. I completely forgot about that. That was brilliant. Kind of mirroring Bret Hart wearing the plate on his chest when Goldberg speared him in WCW, which Foley mentioned. I thought that was great. So in that moment, he became Cactus Jack. Anytime he wears the flannel, the red and black flannel, whatever, he becomes Cactus Jack. So they really just kind of give a breakdown of the entire match as it goes on here, which is fucking cool. They recall Foley clotheslining Edge off the apron with Lita on his back, with Lita on Foley's back, that is, which was a cool spot. And Edge knew that the audience was worried. They wanted to push the audience to their comfort level and a little beyond that to kind of keep them on the edge of their seat, Foley took barbed wire to the head for the match. Edge took a thumbtack spot, which is just disgusting, but he just can't explain it. That's how much it hurts. Edge and Lita both took a barbed wire mandible claw Mr. Saka, which must have fucking sucked. And Lita was like, I didn't sign up for this, but I guess I'll do it. If Edge is going to do it, it's only fair that I do it too, if I take it too. She was the one who lit the table on fire, and she could feel how hot it was from a distance. So it was a scary spot. Edge's flame retardant gel had wore off. So, and he's not wearing a shirt. Foley is kind of bundled up in clothes. He should be fine. Edge, not so much. Okay. So he buried his head. He knew he had to protect himself. Otherwise, he was going to burn his face. If he burns his arms, that's one thing. But burning his face is going to be problematic. So he buried his head in Foley's chest. Foley recalls the pop and how huge it was. It was a Mania moment if I ever heard one. If it was a Mania moment if I had ever seen one. And Edge's arm was smoking afterward. It was smoking from being burned on the side of it, which is just disgusting. Edge went to go pin him, went for the cover at ringside, told him that he loved him when he was pinning Foley, which was great. And Foley knew in that moment he had that WrestleMania moment. And it's like a tale of two people because Edge is in fucking pain. He has no idea what's going on. Foley, who just lost the match and got speared through a table, is happy as a pig in shit in that moment, he's smiling, he was happy he was wearing a crimson mask, which was great. And Lita almost felt guilty. About the punishment they put themselves in that match. They told a little funny story here about Foley got backstage. It was kind of a thing for his wife to call him after every pay-per-view match to check if he was okay and just to reassure her that he was okay. The first thing that she did upon calling Mick was ask if Edge was okay, which was great. They show the footage of Edge with the doctor, Foley with the doctor too, but more so Edge, who had got some props from Taker. Taker was like, are you okay? And Edge was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, okay, which is kind of a funny visual. But yeah, Edge found out he had a second degree burn on his arm. He had thumbtacks all over his body. He was just fucked up. He was fucked up after that. Foley was grateful to have had that moment with Edge he talks about, and Edge says that he'll always be thankful for Mick Foley, and they will forever share that bond for the rest of their lives. And Foley thanks Edge for being a part of the greatest hardcore match ever, in his opinion. He doesn't say in his opinion, but that's what he says. So this was terrific. The match was awesome, kind of getting a watch-along of sorts with Foley and Edge, with all the dramatics spliced in, I thought was fantastic. David Shoemaker, I believe that's what his name is, offered the fan perspective. He did a great job. We heard from Lita. That was cool. And that's all we really heard from. I think it was only Edge, Foley, Lita, and David Shoemaker. There might have been someone else, but I'm pretty sure that was it. So, I thought that was fantastic. This was a really, really good documentary. Check it out right now on the WWE Network and on Peacock. Edge vs. Foley, WrestleMania 22. But yeah, that's about it, guys. So be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Hit the bell button as well to be notified every time a new video goes up. There's going to be a lot of content coming up this week, during WrestleMania season. It's gonna be big. A lot of big interviews dropping this week on the channel, so be sure to subscribe. Please help me reach 5,100 subscribers. I would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, check out all the other videos already up here on the channel. You won't be disappointed. Have an awesome one, guys. Enjoy WrestleMania week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.